Hey, class. This is Dr. Kelly. It's February 8th. I got my second COVID shot about half an hour ago, the Moderna shot. 65, one of the few times I've been glad to be 65. So I'm hoping I don't feel sick. My brother and his family, they all felt terrible after their second shot. But might start feeling sick soon. But basically, I really feel blessed, and I hope you all are doing okay. Your family's doing okay. I know the UTSA community's been really hit hard by COVID. I know a number of students who've had deaths in their family, and I just want to tell you if you're having trouble, your family, I'm praying for you. But in this really brief podcast, which I'm recording on February 8th, 2021, I just want to point out some things. Um, First of all, this is a point which I think is obvious, but maybe it's not obvious. I have the screen share up, and I just want to point out that whenever I post a podcast or something for the reading, I also post a keyword list as well. So, like right here, week 4 podcast stream 1, you see keywords. Podcast stream 2, you see keywords. And basically, what I suggest to all of you, if you're having a tough time in the course, is that you listen to the podcast first. Otherwise, a lot of this stuff won't make sense to you. And the podcast lay the groundwork for the reading. So, what I would suggest is that you listen to the podcast first, you cut and paste the keywords that I post. And if you know the keywords, you'll do well on the quizzes. As I've said many times before, I'm very clear about what I want you to know. I teach you what I want you to know, and I test you on what I want you to know. I don't throw curves at you. I know students, that's one of the things they really hate about professors. When you take a test and it's just a random question that comes out of the blue, that's awful teaching. So look at the keywords that I post with the podcast. I highly recommend that you look at the keywords, you be aware of them. When you run into them on the podcast, you might stop the podcast and mark it and take your notes. So take your notes keyed to the words, to the phrases that I put by most of the podcast. And as I said before, I think it makes a lot more sense for you to listen to the podcast first and then do the reading, especially the Tourget reading. The Tourget book is a serious college book. This is the kind of book that if you're going to Harvard or Yale or UC Berkeley or Rice, whatever, this is the kind of book you would be reading. It's a hardcore book. It's not the easiest book in the world to read. And I think that's, fair to say. I actually know Tourget. He's a nice guy. He's up at North Texas. But it's an important book because he's tracing in detail how Texas evolves in a very short time from being a isolated province of Spain in North America to being an important slave state in the United States that happens over a 2-decade period. It's a big story not only for Texas, it's a huge story for Mexico. Think about what it means for Mexico that it lost Texas. So it's a huge story in Mexican history and basically a very negative story. And it's also a huge story in US history because the entry of Texas into the Union is one of the dominoes that gets knocked over that ultimately will lead to the Civil War. So Texas history, and of course we all know this, right? Texas history has major repercussions outside of the borders of Texas. I think I'm starting to feel the second COVID shot come on. So anyway, so I wanted just to give you the short podcast. Now, some of you might of introduction for this week, you probably are realizing that I've recorded a lot of these podcasts before. I'm basically happy with the podcast. I worked really hard last semester with these modules, pulling together podcasts, making new podcasts. So there's not that many new podcasts, but I have thought really hard about these podcasts. These are podcasts that I've worked on over the years, and they're very relevant to the course. But I did want to record a new one just to let you know I'm thinking about you. Again, anybody struggling, please reach out to me. I've had about 4 or 5 students reach out to me, and I've been able to help them, point them on their way. If something's come up in your life, I can't help you if I don't know what it is. So please, if you're struggling in any way, reach out to me. Or if you just want to talk about Texas history, reach out to me. You know, one of the advantages of Zoom is that we can talk quite easily, where it's often difficult for me to talk to students because y'all are so busy. So many of you work, a lot of you have families. So good luck to you. Hope you're doing okay. Good luck to me. I feel very lucky, actually, that I did get the second COVID shot. And please be in touch.